Batman is one of the most iconic and beloved superheroes in popular culture. He's a deeply complex character, and unlike many superheroes with superhuman abilities, he's a regular human being who has honed his mind and his body to peak physical condition through rigorous training and discipline. This relatability and the psychological complexity of his character make him intriguing and compelling. Batman made his first appearance in Detective Comics number 27 in May of 1939, and since then he's become a symbol of justice, an embodiment of human determination, and an inspiration to fans of all ages and genders. And while Batman's appeal transcends gender boundaries, there's a strong, enduring connection between the character and men in particular. Batman is strong, he's tough, he's stoic, he's basically the embodiment of masculinity personified. So it's not really a mystery why so many men love this character. But in a world where masculinity has become demonized and often seen as toxic, is there still a place for Batman in modern society? In today's video, we'll be exploring why men love Batman so much, and so-called toxic masculinity. So why are a lot of men so drawn to the character of Batman? Well, growing up as young boys, we're often exposed to many depictions of classic masculinity. But what exactly is masculinity, and how do you define it? Well, it's a complex and culturally variable concept, but it usually refers to a set of traits, behaviors, and roles that are associated with being male. What's considered masculine can vary widely across different cultures and time periods, but usually it's associated with the following traits: strength and physical prowess, courage and assertiveness, independence, leadership, and emotional restraint or stoicism. We saw this in the TV shows we watched, the movies, the video games, and action figures. And I know for me as a child of the 80s and 90s, we had so many cartoons with hypermasculine men flaunting their muscles and saving the day. And Batman is definitely one of those figures. He's the classic, strong, silent type. The man who can not only dominate a whole room full of people, but keep his composure while doing it. Classically masculine figures are physically strong and capable. They excel in physical activities, whether it's through combat skills, sports, or feats of athleticism, and boys and men may idolize them because they represent physical power and status. Characters like the Terminator, Rocky, and Rambo, they epitomize physical strength and resilience, which can be inspiring to many. Classic masculine characters exhibit courage and bravery in the face of adversity. They confront danger head-on and they're willing to take risks for a noble cause. And many boys and men may admire their fearlessness and willingness to stand up for what's right. Characters like James Bond and Indiana Jones are known for their bravery in high-stakes situations. And they're also often shown as being strong leaders with natural charisma. And this ties into why men love Batman in particular. With a lot of superheroes, we see a meek or mild-mannered person without much of a presence. And it's becoming the superhero alter ego that makes them great. But Bruce Wayne, the man Batman already is, that guy's already a hero to many men. He's a suave, successful, billionaire playboy. He lives in a mansion, drives expensive cars, and has incredible technology. He's the leader of a very successful company and someone everyone would look up to. He has genius-level intellect with a wide range of skills from detective work to martial arts mastery. Bruce Wayne's physical prowess and combat skills are enviable, and I think it's pretty safe to say that most men would love to have a physique that's considered strong, muscular, and impressive to others. His exceptional strength, agility, and martial arts abilities make him a formidable force, the exact type of man that most boys grow up wanting to be. And the idea of leading a double life, switching between being a billionaire playboy and a crime-fighting vigilante, that's something a lot of people find to be fascinating and appealing. So by most measures, Bruce Wayne already has it all. But on top of that, he's able to live out this fantasy of being the hero. So classic masculinity says that men should be big and strong. They should be leaders, protectors, and providers. And for the most part, I don't think most men really have a problem with this ideal. But in recent years, it seems the traits traditionally associated with masculinity have become demonized. And many men would even say that masculinity itself is under attack. The feminist movement, which gained momentum in the late 20th century, played a pivotal role in critiquing traditional gender roles. Feminist scholars and activists argued that these traditional notions of masculinity were harmful, not only for women, but to the men as well, perpetuating a cycle of toxic behaviors and attitudes. And while this term may seem like a very new and current catchy buzzword, it was actually coined in the 1980s. I think we can all agree that masculinity in and of itself is not a bad thing, and traits like strength, courage, and leadership, these are vital to the survival of any strong society. But toxic masculinity refers to a cultural framework, one that promotes harmful behaviors and attitudes that are associated with traditional masculinity, things like aggression, dominance, emotional suppression, and the objectification of women. Some would say that an example of this is in action movies, how oftentimes men use violence as a way to solve their problems. Now, I don't think violence is always the answer, but we do live in the real world, and as someone who has experienced unwanted violence many times in my life, I know firsthand that sometimes violence is the only language that certain people understand. Now, I'm not advocating for everyone to go around punching people, and if violence and aggression are your go-to strategies for every single problem, then yes, that behavior is toxic. But logical conversations and reasoning won't always get you out of a fight when someone brings that fight to you. No one should go around inflicting violence on the innocent, but you should know how to defend yourself should you ever find yourself on the receiving end of it. Toxic masculinity perpetuates the notion that men should assert dominance and control over others, particularly in relationships. A perfect example of this would be in the movie 50 Shades of Grey, where the main character Christian is incredibly controlling and possessive. He monitors his girlfriend's activities, insists on knowing her whereabouts at all times, dictates what she can and can't do. He even goes so far as to purchase the company that Anastasia works for, just so he can further control her at work. So yeah, I definitely say that behavior is toxic, but let's take a look at Batman. Bruce Wayne's transformation into Batman begins with a traumatic event from his childhood. As a boy, he witnessed the murder of his parents during a mugging, and this traumatic experience left a mark, instilling a deep sense of loss, fear, and anger. And Bruce's response to this tragedy is twofold. He inherits the substantial wealth of the Wayne family and dedicates his life to seeking justice for Gotham City, vowing to prevent others from experiencing the same pain he endured. But to achieve this goal, Bruce Wayne embarks on a rigorous journey of self-improvement, both physically and mentally. He travels the world, learning martial arts, detective skills, and honing his physical capabilities. So armed with his newfound skills, a vast fortune, and an unwavering commitment to justice, he then uses resources to develop advanced technology. But is this an example of healthy or toxic masculinity? Bruce Wayne's determination to protect the innocent and seek justice for his city can be viewed as an expression of healthy masculinity. He channels the trauma into a positive, pro-social mission, demonstrating qualities such as responsibility, resilience, and commitment to ethical principles. Now, some interpretations may argue that certain aspects of Batman's behavior could be seen as toxic masculinity, and his obsession with crime fighting at the expense of personal relationships could be viewed as problematic. In a crime-ridden city like Gotham, he's the one who moves in the shadows and does the dirty work that's necessary to keep the city safe. This requires a great deal of physical strength and prowess, but it also requires a great deal of mental toughness. One of the defining characteristics of Batman is his ability to confront fear. Bruce Wayne's courage is evident through his willingness to confront the very symbol of his own trauma, the Bat. In the 2005 film Batman Begins, this aspect of his character is explored in depth. After falling into a cave filled with bats as a child, Bruce transforms this fear into a source of power by adopting the symbol of the bat to strike fear into the hearts of criminals. This transformation showcases his courage in the face of his own fears. Batman is usually shown as being assertive. He doesn't merely react to crime, he actively seeks out criminals and confronts them head-on. This assertiveness is driven by his commitment to justice and his refusal to allow crime to be unpunished. In Frank Miller's graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, Batman's assertiveness is on full display when he comes out of retirement to clean up Gotham City's streets. In Alan Moore's 1988 graphic novel, The Killing Joke, Batman's courage is on full display as he confronts the Joker, one of his most formidable adversaries. He refuses to succumb to the Joker's physical torture and maintain his determination to stop the villain's reign of terror. Ben Affleck's interpretation of Batman in the DC Extended Universe highlights an older and more experienced Dark Knight, one who's willing to take on extreme measures when facing existential threats. In Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, Batman confronts Superman, initially seeing him as a potential threat to humanity. And keep in mind, this is a man with no superpowers, but he stands toe-to-toe with the likes of Batman, Wonder Woman, and other superheroes who are considered gods in their world. He does what's necessary, and he moves forward without waiting for approval or backup. And this brings us to our next set of traits: independence and leadership. In many iterations of the Justice League, Batman is portrayed as one of the founding members, and even though he doesn't have actual superpowers, his leadership within the League is based on his tactical expertise and the ability to anticipate and plan for various scenarios. Batman serves as a mentor for younger heroes, including members of the Bat family such as Robin, Batgirl, and Nightwing. and his guidance and training help shape these heroes into formidable crime fighters. He also often plays key roles in other superhero teams like the Outsiders and the Birds of Prey, demonstrating his ability to adapt his leadership skills to different groups and contexts. Two of the biggest traits often associated with healthy masculinity are a man's ability to protect and to provide. From everything we've already discussed so far, I don't think I need to make any kind of argument as to why Batman is a great protector. And although throughout different movies and TV shows we see him sometimes being reckless and throwing his money around, he is in fact a great provider. He supports museums, theaters, and cultural institutions that enrich the city's cultural landscape. He's done things like donating funds and equipment to Gotham City's police department. We've seen everything from scholarships, environmental initiatives, to humanitarian aid and veteran support. With all of these different initiatives, some would say that maybe Bruce has a savior complex. But anyone who provides and protects in the way that Batman does, donating millions, giving his time, and putting his health and body on the line, I would say there's nothing toxic about that. His philanthropic endeavors and leadership have also inspired many other characters in the DC universe, such as Lucius Fox, who continues his legacy of innovation and ethical business practices. And this actually led to the emergence of Batwing, another character who takes up a Batman-like persona, and he's the man who is considered the first Black Batman. Another thing that Batman is well known for is another classically masculine trait, which can be seen as both good and bad: his emotional restraint, or stoicism. For most of us, when you think of someone who's stoic, you probably imagine that big, strong, tough guy with the stern but bland look on his face. He stays calm under pressure, he casually walks away from explosions, and he doesn't ever lose his cool. But it does go a little deeper than this. Stoicism is a philosophical school of thought that originated back in ancient Greece. It was then further developed in ancient Rome and is characterized by an emphasis on personal virtue. Stoicism teaches individuals to manage their emotions and respond to challenging situations with composure, which can be a valuable trait when dealing with adversity, stress, or emotional turmoil. When you're in a really stressful situation, do you want someone next to you who's panicking and hysterical, or do you want the person who's composed and in control? Think of characters like John Wick, who's forced to return to his violent life after a personal tragedy. He embodies stoic principles through his calm and collected demeanor. Think Clint Eastwood's character in Unforgiven. He exemplifies traits such as emotional restraint and self-discipline. And a classic example would be someone like Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. This character is often cited as being the embodiment of stoic virtues. He displays remarkable justice throughout the story. He knows that his defense of Tom Robinson will draw ire of the racist community, and yet, he faces this adversity with remarkable composure and bravery. His unwavering stance in the face of hostility and danger demonstrates stoic courage. Atticus also imparts stoic wisdom onto his children, particularly his daughter Scout. He encourages them to empathize with others, to view situations from different perspectives, and to understand the importance of moral values. And when you look at Batman, this is something we definitely see. He might grunt or make angry faces from time to time, but for the most part, he keeps his cool under pressure, even when he's clearly outgunned, outmanned, and in harrowing situations that would make most people buckle under the pressure. Now, stoicism, when practiced in a healthy and balanced manner, can align with positive masculinity. However, stoicism can be seen as toxic masculinity when it's taken to the extremes. The emphasis on emotional control may lead to an unhealthy suppression of emotions, reinforcing negative stereotypes that men should never express vulnerability or seek emotional help. And stoicism's self-reliance can push individuals towards social isolation, which can definitely have a negative impact on mental health. Now, with all that being said, let's answer the question, does Batman promote toxic masculinity? In a world where classic masculinity is demonized, some people may argue that he does. But I would say that he displays characteristics of some of the healthiest masculinity we see on screen. Putting on a costume and becoming a crime-fighting vigilante probably wouldn't be the best way to deal with your grief and trauma in real life. There are certainly healthier ways to deal with your grief and your fears, especially considering the money, the mental, and the physical toll that this would take on anyone. But Batman isn't just a man. He's an icon, and he's a symbol of all the positive aspects of classic masculinity. He's certainly not perfect, but he's strong, he's independent, he's capable and resourceful. His character represents the idea that even in the face of adversity, one can find courage to stand up for what's right and take action to make the world a better place. And that, I would say, is healthy, positive masculinity. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button if you did, and comment down below, why do you think so many men love Batman? Or tell me your favorite superhero. Subscribe to see more videos like this one, and I will see you very soon with another new episode of Daniel Speaks.